Hello everybody and welcome back to On Point HQ and another finished bolt action project. Well, they're not strictly finished, are they? They never are. Let's just dispel that myth right now. But I've finished something else that I set out to do. Now, unlike my previous one with the US tank destroyer platoon, I didn't feel the need to do a blog for this because I went through it pretty quickly. The plan was to do a sort of video series, but I enjoyed this so much I ran through really pretty quickly. So what I'm going to do in this video is show you exactly what I've done, what the project is, and how I came to be doing it. So let's start right at the beginning, shall we? So last year I was very kindly sent this by my good friend Carl from Mez's Minis. It's a Humber Scout Car. Now it's a really nice kit, but I just could not work out where I was going to fit it into any of my projects, or what projects I could do that would include this. So then one day I was thumbing through this, which is the British and Canadian D-Day sector book by Warlord Games, and while I was perusing through this fine book I came across this list, which is the Allied late war Armoured Division in Northwest Europe. And then I was doing a bit of research on this and I came across this photograph, which really intrigued me. As you can see, it's a photograph from the 11th Armoured Division, and there's a Humber Scout Car in the foreground. So I thought, right, that's it, I'm going to be doing that moving forward. That really sort of got my interest going. I knew from that point what I was going to be doing. So I sat down and I wrote a sort of what, like I normally do, a veteran late war 1500 point list. Went out, bought all the stuff, and that's what I've been working on for a couple of months now. So the whole thing's finished. What I'm going to do is show you exactly what I've done. So let's start at the beginning. Here it is. Here's the finished chap. So this is the Humber Scout Car that Carl very kindly sent me. So it's a very nice kit, quite simple. It's a resin and metal kit from Warlord Games, and all I've done is added a bit of stowage to it. In fact, adding stowage is a bit of a theme in this project because every vehicle's covered in it, but well, it adds a bit of character. So here we have the HQ unit, which is a Humber Scout Car. Now this project is very vehicle tank heavy, which I really enjoyed painting, and I'll show you why when I get to it, all the Shermans that I've put together. So this is, again, like I mentioned, quite a simple kit, but this is going to function as my HQ unit. As you can see, got all the 11th Armoured Division markings on there. I really did a lot of research into this, and it's, joined a Facebook group about the 11th Armoured Division. It's fascinating history. I'd check it out if you've got the time. It's absolutely brilliant. But this is the HQ unit, Humber Scout Car. Quite simple, not much to say about it, but this was the catalyst, this was the beginning, and this is what started the project in earnest. So with this, with the theatre selector that I've chosen, you have a HQ unit and you have two sort of vehicle tank options. So I opted to go for two Sherman Vs. So this is the first one that I completed. Here we go. What I did, I actually picked up the Sherman platoon box by Warlord Games, in which you get two Shermans and a Firefly, which was quite lucky because that's what I'd put in my list. So it worked out quite well. But here we go. Here's the first Sherman V. Really nice kit to put together. As you can see, I've gone really heavy on the detailing. So let's start. So the basic Sherman V, and then what I've done, so the dozer blades are part of the kit itself. It's an option whether you put it on or not. Because these guys are based in sort of Normandy after D-Day, I imagine they've been busting through Bocage, so they've all had the dozer blades, the Cullen cutters all attached to the Shermans. And then what I've done is I've added a fair bit of stowage to these guys. Now, this is a combination of the stowage that you get with the kits. You get the wheels, you get spare tracks, and then you get jerry cans as well. And I've also added some third-party resin stowage as well. And with the weathering, my usual weathering types, which is just weathering pigments, Vallejo mud and water. But with this, as you'll see here, what I wanted to do was sort of simulate that they've been smashing through these bull cars, through hedges. And so all I did, very, very simple to make this. This is just a sort of a mix-up of clump foliage and Vallejo mud. And while it's still tacky, I just really squidge it into there, into the blades with a sculpting tool. And I was really quite happy with how that turned out. It looks really quite authentic. So that was the first Sherman V. So as I mentioned, there are two. And here is the second one. Again, very similar to the first. It's, you know, packed full of stowage. It's been weathered. It's got the mud and the debris there from smashing through bocage and hedges. Fair bit of stowage on there. And with this guy, this one I've put a chap in the turret there. So they are the two Sherman V's are sort of the two mandatory options. There are a choice of what vehicles you take, but I went for two Sherman V's. So like I said before, they both came from the Sherman Platoon box by Warlord Games. Really great box. Gives you access to two of these Sherman V's and a Firefly, which is coming up next. Because another option you get to take is another tank. And so I went with this. Look at a barrel on that. That's gonna ruin your day, really, isn't it? It's a bit of a nifty one, that. So here we go. Here's the Sherman Firefly. Again, very much the same build and detailing as the Sherman V's. So we've got the Vallejo mud on there. We've got the pigments to put away the dust and grime and dirt. Again, a bit of third-party resin stowage, which really gives the vehicles a bit of character. They're being lived in. And it just gives it a bit more authentic look. Again, with the colour cutters there, the dozer blades. Again, look at that. With a 76mm gun there, lovely stuff. And now we've got the commander in the turret. Really nice kit to put together. And these are going to form the mainstay of the project. These are the most of the armoured support here. Really enjoyed working on these. I've definitely got a taste for doing bolt action armour at the moment, especially Shermans. Really interesting and just full of character to build. Now, moving forward, I thought, well, if I'm going to play this game, these are going to be good, but they're not going to be able to hold objectives. We're going to need some boots on the ground here. So I went for a 10-man late war veteran infantry section. And we have them here. So these have been built using the new British and Canadian infantry set by Warlord. Lovely kit. So full of character, loads of options. It just looks so nice. The only changes I've really made is I've added a couple of the heads from the 8th Army sprue just to shake it up a bit. Make it a bit more, you know, everyone knows me. I like my unique figures, but there's very little kit bashing on these guys at all. Just a couple of head swaps from the 8th Army box. And these were super fun to paint. Really quite a different technique than I would normally use for painting bolt action infantry. Very unreliant on washes. I've been quite judicious with the washes on here, as I was with my US infantry with the tank destroyers. So there we go. Again, done a bit more cork basing as I'm prone to do. I'll just love this basing technique. It really does add to the figures. There we go. That's the sole infantry support for now. I will add some later on to give it a bit more oomph, but that is the infantry support. Now with infantry, everything in this list needs to have a transport. So with having one infantry section, I needed one transport, so I went for a half-track. I did debate using two universal carriers, but in the end I couldn't resist doing another one of these. I love this kit. So this is the half-track kit from Warlord Games. A bit different, as you can tell, and I'll get to that in a second. So really nice to put together. As you can see, festooned with stowage like the rest of the vehicles in the project so far. Now when I do a bolt action project, I look at lots and lots of reference photographs, and I kept seeing photographs of these half-tracks with canopies on, sort of tarps over them. I thought I want to do something like that, so I toyed with the idea of using sort of tissue paper and PVA and draping it over. But then I had a bit of a brainwave. I remembered that I had a spare canopy from an Opel Blitz kit that I had. So I actually took a bit of advice. I was going back and forth with the chaps on the Plastic Crack Podcast Facebook group, and I got lots of advice about cutting it down, making it a bit, because it was quite high to start off with. So I've cut that down and made it a bit lower, and I think that really adds character to it. It's a bit of a different looking vehicle, and I just think having the canopy, having the covering on it, just makes it a little bit different. We've also got the driver in there and the 50 cal there. I did attempt to put a chap in the turret, but as you can tell, there's not a lot of room in there, so maybe I might do something different on the next one when I add some more transports. But again, weathering is the same, so Vallejo mud, and we've got the Vallejo water, and weathering pigments just to add dust and grime that's been picked up when they're on the road. Again, stowage. Ooh, so be careful. I've snapped that machine gun off there about 4 times so far, and I almost did it again. I shouldn't be allowed anywhere near these things. But we've got stowage on there as well. But just a really simple kit with a nice simple addition really goes a long way. And so the last, yes, this is a really small project. The last thing is this. Now I wanted to include one of these from the start. Now this is a Cromwell, really iconic British tank from World War II. I love the angular nature of the Cromwell cruiser. It's just there's just something about it. Again, another kit from Warlords is that this is the Cromwell from Warlord Games. Quite a simple kit to put together. Again, we've got the markings on there, and we've got I went less for stowage on the Cromwell, because this is more of a sort of a recon vehicle, so I had visions of it being out and about rather than people living in it. But that's just me. I just had that view of it. But again, lovely little kit to put together. I actually built and painted this in a night. There wasn't 3 hours, bit of coffee, some Slayer on YouTube, and yeah, it was good to go. For people with a nervous disposition, yes, sorry, these are based. I hope I didn't traumatise anyone with all these based vehicles. I know it's a bit of a sore point or a sticky point in the community, but I base all my vehicles. And there we have it, the full completed project. And that comes to about just over 1,500 points. And it was most enjoyable to work on. You can probably tell by the amount of time that I spent on it. But I think this just goes to show to have an interesting bolt action project, you don't need masses and masses of troops and vehicles. You find the right theatre selector in the army books that really appeal to you. It can really set off the creative process, and that's exactly what happened here. So that's the end of the showcase. It's good to be getting back to painting bolt action again. I've been working on a few different things recently. So I hope you enjoyed that video. If you've got any comments or questions about this project or bolt action or wargaming in general, just pop them down below and I'll certainly respond to all comments and questions. But as always, thanks for watching. Do take care. May your dice roll well, and I'll catch you all in the next video. So bye bye for now.